Today on the channel, we head to Texas, beautiful this time of year, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre NECA Leatherface.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another NECA Toys unboxing and review. And today on the channel, we got an all-timer. We got one of the horror greats. We've got Leatherface. But for all your Leatherface NECA needs and a whole lot more, make sure you're hitting up Entertainment Earth. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10% on all in-stock items. Anything over $79 does ship free. Gotta get a deal out there. And Leatherface, like I said, one of the modern horror icons out there. Not sure if he gets the flowers that the Michael Myers, the Jason Voorhees, the Freddy Kruegers do. But he's kind of in that next rung, I always kind of think, with Pinhead maybe. However, for me, he's right at the top of the list, as I actually enjoy the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first and second editions especially, chop top all day long. Number 1 and 2 are probably my favorite out of all those kind of movies there, when you throw in the Friday the 13th, the Freddy Krueger, stuff like that. It just always felt a little bit more realistic. I don't know if even that works, but more gritty, and it just felt like a backbeat, off the beaten path Texas, out in the middle of nowhere. Something crazy like this could happen. And heck, I was just traveling for work, and I heard some crazy things just last week that would make a lot of people's heads spins, myself included. So crazy things still go on in this day and age, no doubt about. So definitely interesting. Back in the day, when I first saw this movie, I don't know, early 90s, mid-90s, I don't know when I first saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I remember just having that creepy feeling watching it. It gave me that creepy vibe, where Freddy Krueger, the first time I watched it, it was kind of, there was comedy to it. There was a little comedy to it, and even with Jason Voorhees as well, there's a little bit of comedy and over-the-topness to it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre really was not that way, and it's a very interesting movie as well, as there's really no blood to speak of. It's all kind of in your head. It's like Alfred Hitchcock type stuff from way back in the day, or even like Bela Lugosi's Dracula. A lot of people think, where's Dracula and his fangs? Well, he didn't have fangs. They didn't have to show that kind of stuff. It was use it to your imagination, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at least the first edition, had a lot of that stuff going on as well. As you saw some of the chainsaw, you saw some of that, but a lot of it, and 99% of it, was left to your imagination, which sometimes is more powerful than just seeing it on screen right in front of your face. Of course, coming from a person that's one class away from a minor in film. Have I mentioned that lately? Have I mentioned it? Well, there you go again. But of course, we're going to do this unboxing like we do all the other unboxings on the channel. We're going to take a look at the packaging. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unbox it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. So without further ado, let's see the old Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what Leatherface is up to. Looking good with that kind of movie-style poster right there on the front. Just an all-timer, there's no doubt about it. Does say, who will survive and what will be left of them? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, America's most bizarre and brutal crime. What happened is true. Now the motion picture that's just as real. And of course, borrowed with kindness. We know that whole kind of story. And then House of a Thousand Corpses kind of played off this movie a little bit as well. If you've ever seen House of a Thousand Corpses from Rob Zombie, really has a lot of feelings of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, if that is your thing. That's how I always felt, at least. Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the side. NECA Real Toys as well. Same thing on that side. Then, of course, the back of the package. Here's old Leatherface just waving hi to everybody. Hey, guys, what's going on? Got a little blurb. Let's see what it says about old Texas Chainsaw Massacre here. This is the tragic tale of 5 young friends who venture into rural Texas one hot afternoon and become victims in one of the most bizarre and brutal crimes in Travis County history. Many of them meet a horrific end at the end of the murderous lunatic Leatherface in what comes to be known as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And a very, very good movie, like I said. And I think another problem with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the horror franchises always have some duds somewhere along the line. There was a lot of crazy Texas Chainsaw Massacres that kind of rewrote history and redid it and really murkied the waters is really what it did. And we've had movies that have tried to bring it back around, try to do the beginning, try to start it all over. And none of them really captured the magic of the first one. And the second one were a very similar, totally different film as well. Dennis Hopper in that one. Crazy times, crazy times. But there it is. There's a little Leatherface, a little glamour shot as well. Plastic prison, all kinds of stuff inside. Looking real good. Let's pull a little Leatherface out of the package here. See what all the fuss is about. And let me tell you, there's always fuss with Leatherface. Sure there is. Sure there is. Looking good right there in the package. And of course, a bunch of twist ties here, so I'm going to take this offline, get Leatherface and his accessories out of the package. We'll be back talking all things Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, we got Leatherface out of the package. Let's start with the accessories as we usually do here. We're going to start off with the chainsaw. Of course, you can't have Leatherface without a chainsaw. His most iconic weapon, no doubt about it. Nice yellow chainsaw here. You got the blood on the blade. Man, this thing's been used. It's cutting more than just deer and cows and things. It's cutting human beings. Oh my gosh, that's what it's doing. And I can always picture Leatherface, of course, swinging around, dancing around with this thing. Just absolutely wild. And of course, we remember Chainsaw Charlie from our wrestling days as well. Partner in crime with old Leatherface. Two great Texans in Leatherface and Terry Funk at the end of the day. Shout out to Terry Funk, of course, but a great chainsaw here. One of those things you could use with other stuff if you really wanted to down the line as well, but really looks good. It's a chainsaw at the end of the day. Now, a very interesting thing here is when people think of Leatherface and his weapons, obviously the chainsaw is number one, but a strong number two for me is always the big old hammer here. I always remember him hitting people, clabbering people over the head with the hammer, knocking them out, and just definitely a weapon Leatherface seems to use a lot, and always stuck with me when he'd hit somebody with a hammer for whatever reason. I don't know, but a good hammer here to represent that here. Silver at the top, brown on the handle. But then, of course, you get hit with that hammer. Sometimes it leads to this one, which is very iconic, and one of the most iconic scenes in Texas Chainsaw Massacre to me. And they don't really show it, but you know what's going on. It's where you're using the theater of the mind, I guess, is, of course, the big old hook. And he grabs the chick, puts her up on the hook, right in the back there, and she's hanging like a big piece of meat. Just a very crazy scene, that's for sure. And you use your imagination, because there's not blood going everywhere, things like that, but you know, hey, she's hanging on a hook. If they turned it around, you would see that hook in her skin. There'd be blood going on. It's one of those things. It's just, like I said, the theater of the mind is with that one there. We do get the big old hook here. It would be cool to have this hanging, having somebody on there, have him up against it. You could do that. So you got that hook there. Then you get a couple of little extra weapons here. You get the old butcher's knife. Got a nice leather kind of brown handle on the end. Big old stereotypical butcher knife at the top, looking good. And then you get just a little bit of a knife action right here as well. Just a little fillet knife, a fillet knife. He needs to cut some of that up. And of course, they're more cannibalistic in other episodes. The first movie, not as much of the cannibal play as some of the later ones where it was a lot more implied they're cannibals and stuff. Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, the Great Chili Cook-Off. Who'd forget that one? Who'd forget that one there? But looking good in the weapon department. I think everything does hit the nail on the head, no pun intended. But now we're going to get out of the figure here. We got a Leatherface looking only like a Leatherface could look early on as well. Got that dead skin mask like a young Slayer going on there in the face department here. Looking really good. Got all the stitching across the top. Really does look like Leatherface at the end of the day. You got a little mouth showing through there, a little jagged kind of teeth going on. A dentist dream is what we got going there. And then, of course, you got all the hair at the top looking good. Get a little tie there, just a little tie. And then he looks like he's working at a meat grocery store here. He's got kind of the cleaver, I guess it's an apron. But he's got the apron going on in the front. It is tied in the back. So it is removable if you want it to be. It's nice, soft goods, kind of a pleather feel to it, whatever. You got all the stained blood, things like that, as you can just imagine there would be on there. You can just see him wiping that butcher blade on there, wiping it clean on here. You can kind of see that going on. But definitely dingy and dirty. And he's got a nice little striped shirt. He's got some nice pants on as well. Looks like a good businessman that went south is what he looks like here. But an interesting look for Leatherface. Definitely frightening, but if you take the head off and you look at just the body, it just looks like a meat butcher from a butcher shop. It's the face and the mask that really brings him to the next level. And I guess you could say the same thing about Freddy Krueger. Looks like a guy in a nice sweatshirt is what he looks like until you look at the burned up face on him. But very interesting looking for Leatherface, but no doubt about it, it's Leatherface at the end of the day. And of course, articulation, the arms do go out, arms do go all the way around. You got the old single jointed elbows, the old side to side, you got the hands back and forth, no extra hands, anything like that with this one. You do get waist articulation, the side to side. You can do a little bit of the Leatherface splits. He was a gymnast in PE early on. Then he found out gymnastics just wasn't for him. It was chainsaws. That's what his specialty was. But then you got single jointed knees, side to side at the knees, of course. Ankles back and forth, side to side, and up and down there. Does he fit on a Ringside Collectible Mattel stand? Use discount code Kyle over at Ringside Collectibles. what do you know? Fits right there on the stand. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good right there. So how about that? Fits on the stand, no issues. We talked about this head, then we got the second head on this one here, and it is kind of the grandma head. And we always saw Leatherface dressing in different kind of outfits and stuff. An interesting duck, there's no doubt about it, but grandma over here looking like a sack of mashed potatoes is what she looks like to me. They got the droopy face going on. Got kind of the cutout in the top of the hair there. Just a different look there. Cross-dressing Leatherface is what we got going on with this one here. I don't think I'll be using this head sculpt outside of the glamour shots. After that, I think all day long you got to use this to regular Leatherface head. This is my Leatherface in my collection. I don't go and buy all the different Leatherfaces, Freddy Krueger's, Jason's. I just want one of each version pretty much, and usually from NECA in my collection. But I was kicking some tires on the Mezco Leatherface. I don't know. I might still get that one. We'll see what happens. Probably not, though. Probably not. But I was very interested in it. But I was very interested in this Leatherface. Got it for around $20 at the time on clearance. You can't beat that. It had damaged packaging, so it was cheaper that way. For 20 bucks, worth it all day long. Normal price, $35, $36. You got to kind of look yourself deep in the mirror and say, do I need this in my collection? And that's what we got to do every single day. But for me, 20 bucks all day long. I'm taking Leatherface home, and I enjoy this figure for what it is. But what say you guys and gals out there in YouTube land? Is this a pickup for you? Is it a pass? Is it a long game? Is it a no game? Let me know your thoughts on this figure and Texas Chainsaw Massacre in general. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day. And we got 2 channels to subscribe to. So check out both YouTube channels. All kinds of content for you on both channels. And of course, Patreon, early access to both channels, videos, as you guys do know. And Patreon, your best way to support this very YouTube channel. You can also support the channel over there at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget social media. SirPaul64 on the X. _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and on Instagram. So for the mighty Leatherface, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.